You guys like that camera up there on the mortar rack? So for those of you who have been on the channel through the winter, you probably remember that I did a world record featuring 5,000 canister shells in total. If you haven't seen that video, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but you need to go back and watch it if you haven't seen it. Because in that video, we shot off 5,000 of these canister shells. And the coolest part about the entire thing is we did it all by effect. So there are 24 different effects in this kit, right? And then I don't remember the math off the top of my head, but I believe it was something like we had 220 of each effect. So that means of each shell in the kit, making 5,000 in total. And then we fired them in sequence so that you could watch all these different effects happen one at a time. And I think 220 or 280 of each. It was absolutely insane, but it was so foggy that night that you couldn't really tell from the drone footage, so we excluded a lot of footage that we had of this event. But what was really interesting is it changed the color of the sky. And so, for example, when there were like 220 of the green shells in this kit going off, the entire sky and fog lit up green. It was absolutely incredible to watch. This town that we shot it in has a population of like 500, I think. And that night we had over 3,000 people in attendance. All the news people in North Dakota were there. I mean, this was a big deal for North Dakota. So in this video, I wanted to feature those shells again, but this time we're going to be comparing them against some other canister shells, such as my own, which are the Lucky 7s. It's a 7-inch canister shell with a 3-layer effect, and these boxes are gonna have to go down on the ground for now. But inside of this canister shell kit, you're basically getting every effect you've ever seen in any generic kit. However, I made it way more fun because with ring shells, you also get like mines and stuff like that. Some things you don't typically see in your everyday canister shell kit, I've got it all in here. And some photos here for reference. You can really see those rings, and a lot of these shells do have a mine effect as they go up. This is gonna be like the second or third demo I've done on these on the channel. So stay tuned. I think you guys are really gonna like these shells, especially since they are made by none other than CodyBPyrotechnics. And for those of you who don't know, that is me. And we've got Cade over here with the boomerang. We just bought this at the truck stop, and we're having some fun with it. Let's see if it'll come back to you. There it goes. Whoa, it did a loop-de-loop. Now, we already covered these Simply the Best shells by Dominator Fireworks. Those are the ones that were used in the world record video. Obviously, my shells, the Lucky 7s. And then over here, we've got the Mad Ox brand Raging Bull 5-inch Pro artillery shells. And just look at all the canister shells there on the side. You're gonna get 24 of them, and they are numbered 1 through 24 as well. And we'll get to how we're gonna be firing those off in a minute. Now, the fourth and final shell kit in this video, I actually bought at Menards. No, I'm kidding. These are called the Pyro Packed canister shells by Pyro Packed brand. And they're smaller. They're like 5-inch canister shells, I believe. But these are gonna be a lot cheaper than some of these kits over here, which I guess you could call the premium, maybe. But these shells, don't underestimate them. And we do have another 24 of those labeled 1 through 24. They're just in a bag because I lost the box that they came in. And I've got no idea what happened to the tubes, but I do have all 24 of the shells that come inside the kit in this bag. And every single one of these canister shells is going into these 4 mortar racks right here. Each one of these mortar racks features 24 HDPE mortar tubes. And for those of you who have been watching the channel for a while, you know that we have been trying to eliminate the need for this fuse right here. And we found a really good way to do that. And it's by putting the fuse in the bottom of the mortar rack like you see here and fusing them across about 1 inch apart. Doing it this way has a very, very high success rate. You don't really lose any height on the shells, although the last time we tested these out, we actually did lose a bit of height. But I will say that is the first time that has ever happened in all of our hundreds of tests that we've done using this method right here. So I would say the reason for the low breaks on the last video I did featuring these racks was definitely due to a manufacturing error, because I don't think they put enough lift in the bottom. But pretty much how I have designed these mortar racks in particular to fire a 24 shell kit 1 through 24 is, I wrote S here on the side of the mortar rack. That stands for start. So we've got a leader fuse right here to get the row started. Once the fuse goes into that tube, it hits the lift charge and it starts firing these canister shells in sequence 1 through 12. Now to get it to go back around 13 through 24, you can see I wrote F for finish on this side. Where we actually light it again, we do not have a fuse that comes around the rack to light this row. So once the first 12 shells are done firing, we come over to the finish side and we light it here. And again, it goes shell 13, one at a time, all the way to 24. And that is how we're gonna get accurate effects to see if they were labeled correctly in the box. Now, as you guys can see, it's getting a bit darker. The sun is going down and I still have a bunch of work to do. I gotta get all of these canister shells loaded into these mortar racks. So give me a minute, and when it's dark enough to shoot them off, I'll get right back to you. Well, as you guys can see, it really turned into a beautiful night out here, and I have finished fusing up all of our canister shells. Each one of these racks has 24 cans in it. We got the Pyro packed here, the Pro Ox 5-inch right there, Simply the Best, and Lucky 7 7-inch by CodyBPyrotechnics. Alrighty guys, well, it's dark enough to start enjoying our canister shells, and as you can see, we have them all set up and ready to go. We got the tops taped so that a star doesn't come down into the tube and light the lift charge, which we exposed in the bottom. This is very important. This has happened to me before, so make sure you're taping the tops so that it doesn't happen to you. We're gonna go ahead and kick things off with the Pyro packed 5-inch canister shells. We have the starting fuse right here and the finished fuse over here. Pyro packed, first 12 shells. Wow. They break heavy for 5-inch cans. Ooh, big break. All right, so that was effects 1 through 12. Now let's see 13 through 24. Man, they're loud. We got major smoke problems. Look at all that smoke, guys. We gotta give it a minute before we light the next row. Well, as you guys can see, the pacing on that row worked out perfectly. We had one shell breaking at a time. Let's see if we can replicate that throughout all the racks. Next up, we have the Pro Ox 5-inch canister shells. Here goes effects 1 through 12. These breaks are even bigger than the last ones. Ooh, big time willow. Oh my goodness. Well, shell 12 is definitely a good one. Now let's see 13 through 24. Pro Ox 5-inch. Well guys, the Pro-Ox shells were 10 out of 10, definitely bigger breaks than the first kit, which would have been the Pyro packed. But moving on from these two, we actually have some legendary canister shells over here. This is the Simply the Best, the exact same shells featured in the 5,000 cans. And this time we're gonna be able to see every single one of these effects one at a time, instead of, 5,000 at once. Here goes effects 1 through 12. And these canister shells are what made the 5,000 can world record video. Oh yeah. Wow. They're almost more enjoyable to watch one at a time. Like, these effects are gorgeous. So that was 1 through 12. And now let's see 13 through 24. Huge breaks. And so far, these are the loudest shells tonight. Wow. Be honest with me in the comments. What did you like better? Did you like enjoying these effects one at a time, or did you like to see 5,000 of them fired consecutively all at once? Now we're moving on to the last rack of 24 canister shells. These happen to be my own. The first time I ever lit these off on video, I shot them all in wide angle, and I feel like a lot of the negative comments I got about these shells, and not just because they're my own, I wasn't trying to hype them up any differently than I did any other canister shell. You can go back and watch, I say literally the same thing every time. But I think the problem is that I went for the wide angle shot on these. And so in comparison to the other 3 kits, which I shot in ×1 zoom, and you guys will see that, I'm going to be shooting these as well. The issue with doing this is that I may miss the mine shell effect, which is kind of like the standout effect in this entire kit, if you will. It's kind of something that I really wanted in here, and also the ring shells too. They're way easier to see in wide angle, but I think I made a mistake my first time ever lighting off my own kit of canister shells, doing it in wide angle. So we're gonna try it in ×1 zoom and see how it looks. So for those of you guys who have been watching the channel for a while, you probably know that shooting fireworks in wide angle, which is what I do a lot on angled stuff, makes the breaks look a lot smaller. And unfortunately, that is the decision I chose on shooting my own canister shells for the first time. But we're gonna give myself one chance at redemption here, and we're gonna shoot them in ×1. So here goes effects 1 through 12. CodyBPyrotechnics Lucky 7 7-inch canister shells. Look at those breaks, guys. They're just as big as the rest, but unfortunately the first time around I shot them in wide. I shouldn't have done that. I wish that your first impression of these shells would have been like this. But look at these willows, guys. I got willows in here, I got rings. I mean, I got so much cool stuff. Look at those breaks. Okay, now we're about to see effects 13 through 24. These have ring shells. I've got 2 cameras out here in case I miss them. Look at that, couple rings. There's a nice ring. See, but I'm missing the mine effect, but the rings are crazy. Nice rings. I am missing that mine though. Look at that. These are my color peonies. That was the last part of the kit, and they break really hard. Well guys, what did you think? In your honest opinion, let me know in the comments. My first shell kit ever. I certainly think that I had a lot more variety as far as effects go in my shell kit versus a lot that you see on the consumer market like Phantom, TNT kits. I think I offered a little more than what you usually get in those kits. Now granted, I could have done the whole thing willows. We would have had these massive willow breaks. But I also wanted to get some rings in there, some really hard breaking shells like you saw towards the end, those color peonies. They're probably the loudest in the kit. And just let me know what you guys think. Honestly, give me a hard time. If they sucked, please tell me. I just wish the first run around I had with these shells wouldn't have shot them in wide angle. If I could go back, I would have shot it like I did tonight. And I just hope you guys liked them. If you don't like them, please let me know too. I'm used to negative comments and all the hate stuff. So be sure to let me know in the comments what you guys thought, and also check out members only content, because there's some things that happened tonight that you won't see in the regular video, but you will see them there. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you next time.